Signs that it's time to quit your job. Jim Rohn. Introduction. In the landscape of personal development and entrepreneurship, few figures stand as tall as Jim Rohn, a pioneering motivational speaker and author. Rohn's teachings have inspired millions to rethink their approach to work, life, and success. One recurring theme in his philosophy is the critical importance of aligning one's vocation with one's vision, values, and innate drive. Too often, individuals find themselves trapped in jobs that no longer serve their growth or nurture their passion, yet they hesitate to break free due to fear, habit, or uncertainty about the future. Drawing on Jim Rohn's wisdom, we explore the unmistakable signs that indicate it may be time to quit your job, and more importantly, how to prepare for that leap with intention and strategic foresight. Rohn often emphasized that time is more valued than money, reminding us that each moment spent in a misaligned environment is a moment stolen from our potential. This idea lies at the heart of recognizing the call to move on, when your current role ceases to contribute meaningfully to your personal or professional evolution. The balance has shifted in the wrong direction. While quitting a job is never a decision to be taken lightly, there is profound power in courageously choosing a path that resonates with your aspirations. This guide will unpack the core indicators Jim Rohn highlighted, both overt and subtle, that signal you're ready to transition into a role or venture better suited to your talents and objectives. Jim Rohn's framework for personal and professional growth. Central to Jim Rohn's teachings is the notion that personal development precedes professional achievement. He famously stated, "Work harder on yourself than you do on your job." In this paradigm, your job ought to function as a catalyst for your growth, providing challenges that stretch your capabilities and environments that foster learning. When a job ceases to meet these criteria, it becomes a drag on your progress rather than propelling you forward. Rohn taught that career decisions should never be isolated from broader life goals. Rather, they should be tightly woven into an overarching strategy for success. By evaluating your role against your vision for the future, you gain clarity on whether your current job is a means to an end, or an anchor holding you back. Another pillar of Rohn's philosophy is the importance of intentionality, acting with clear purpose rather than drifting on autopilot. Staying in a job out of inertia contradicts this principle. Instead, he urged individuals to conduct regular self-assessments, asking probing questions about satisfaction, growth, contribution, and alignment. Such assessments are neither boastful nor self-indulgent. They are practical tools for steering your career. When the answers to these questions reveal persistent dissatisfaction or stagnation, it's a signal that your job is no longer in sync with your goals. Through this lens, quitting becomes an act of planning and design, not merely a reaction to discomfort. Sign 1. Persistent stagnation, despite effort. One of the first signs Jim Rohn identified is persistent stagnation, when no matter how diligently you work, you fail to see growth in skills, responsibilities, or compensation. Rohn compared this to running on a treadmill, expending great effort but ultimately remaining in the same place. In a healthy career, increased input should yield increased output, new expertise, greater influence, broader networks, and rising rewards. When that correlation breaks down, it indicates that the environment is not structured to recognize or reward your contribution. You might find that your proposals are ignored, promotions are eternally one rung above reach, or your role feels like a reproduction of yesterday's tasks rather than an evolution toward tomorrow's opportunities. This stagnation often extends beyond skill building to affect confidence and motivation. Jim Rohn warned that prolonged periods of feeling undervalued can erode self-esteem, making it harder to seize future opportunities. If you notice that even after seeking feedback, volunteering for new projects, or upskilling through courses, the needle on your professional development gauge remains resolutely stuck, it may be time to consider a change. Quitting such a role isn't an admission of defeat, but a strategic shift toward an arena where your efforts will be met with proportional growth and recognition. Sign 2. Loss of passion and engagement. Jim Rohn famously remarked, "If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree." Yet for many, passion for their work dwindles so gradually that it becomes the norm. A clear signal that quitting is on the horizon is a sustained loss of passion and engagement, You might catch yourself daydreaming about alternative careers, dreading Monday mornings with increasing intensity, or approaching daily tasks with mechanical detachment. These aren't just fleeting phases, they indicate a deeper misalignment. Between your personal interests and the demands of your role, engagement is more than a buzzword. For Rohn, it was the fuel of high performance. When passion wanes, productivity plummets, and stress intensifies, creating a vicious cycle that saps energy both at work and at home. If merely checking off tasks feels like the ultimate achievement of your day, your job has lost its capacity to inspire growth or joy. Jim Rohn taught that finding work you love is essential not only for financial success, but also for overall well-being. If enthusiasm is gone and nothing you do restores it, it's a sign that time is up for your current position. Sign 3. A toxic or unsupportive environment. Another, unmistakable sign that quitting may be necessary is working within a consistently toxic or unsupportive environment. Jim Rohn stressed the power of surrounding yourself with positive influences, stating, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." If your closest colleagues, managers, or organizational culture breed negativity, manipulation, or chronic stress, your own performance and morale will suffer. Toxic workplaces may feature bullying, gossip, unrealistic expectations, or a culture of blame rather than learning. Even the most resilient individuals can be worn down by an environment that undermines trust and collaboration. Importantly, toxicity doesn't always manifest as overt hostility. It can also appear as passive resistance to new ideas, indifference to employee well-being, or a lack of mentorship. Jim Rohn taught that support is essential for growth. When leaders are inaccessible, feedback is scarce, and recognition is withheld. The workplace becomes a desert rather than an incubator for talent. If multiple attempts to improve the culture through candid conversations, team-building efforts, or HR interventions prove fruitless, it may signal that your best path forward is to find a healthier environment where encouragement and respect are the norm. Sign 4. Inadequate compensation relative to value. While money isn't everything, Jim Rohn did not dismiss the importance of fair compensation. He often said, discipline equals freedom, but he also recognized that financial stability is a foundation for personal freedom. A clear indicator that it's time to quit is when your compensation fails to reflect the value you deliver. This misalignment can result from outdated pay scales, budget constraints, or a lack of understanding by decision makers about the impact of your work. Over time, underpayment not only affects your bank account, but also communicates undervaluation, eroding your sense of worth and motivation. Determining whether compensation is inadequate involves benchmarking your salary against industry standards, factoring in your skills, experience, and geographic location. Jim Rohn advocated for negotiation and self-advocacy, encouraging individuals to present data-driven cases for raises or promotions. However, when such efforts are rebuffed or tokened, adjustments fall far short of market rates. It may be unrealistic to expect more from that employer. In that case, moving to a position or organization that compensates you commensurately with your expertise and contributions becomes a matter of professional respect and practical necessity. Sin 5. Lack of learning and professional development. Jim Rohn's life story itself illustrates the power of continuous learning. A high school dropout who became one of the world's most sought-after personal development speakers. He believed that investing in oneself through reading, mentorship, and hands-on experience was the true catalyst for success. When a job provides no opportunities for professional development, no training programs, no mentorship, no challenging assignments, you are effectively on pause. Without a trajectory for acquiring new skills, networking with influencers, or broadening your responsibilities, your career engine stalls. This stagnation extends beyond immediate job roles to long-term employability in a rapidly evolving marketplace. Failing to stay current with emerging technologies, methodologies, and best practices can leave you obsolete. Jim Rohn preached, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. If your employer neither encourages nor supports your pursuit of self-education, offering tuition reimbursement, time off for conferences, or internal coaching, it may be time to find a setting that values and invests in its people. Quitting under these circumstances is not about leaving a paycheck behind, but about advancing your future. Sin. 6. Burnout and deteriorating well-being. Burnout has become arguably the most pervasive workplace phenomenon of our era. Yet, Jim Rohn predated the term by decades, warning of the dangers of unbalanced work and neglect of personal well-being. He stressed that success is a holistic endeavor, requiring harmony among mind, body, and spirit. If your job demands are so overwhelming that they compromise sleep, physical health, relationships, or mental clarity, the signals of distress are too loud to ignore. Chronic exhaustion, cynicism, and feelings of ineffectiveness are not just individual problems, but symptoms of a role that exceeds sustainable limits. While minor periods of stress may be tolerable, persistent burnout indicates structural issues, unchecked workloads, unrealistic deadlines, or lack of autonomy. Jim Rohn would advise taking ownership of your environment, setting boundaries, delegating, and prioritizing self-care. However, if these measures fail due to inflexible management or ingrained organizational practices, quitting may be the healthiest choice. It's a conscious decision to break free from a setting that endangers your well-being, allowing you to seek or create work that respects your limits and fuels your vitality. Sign 7. Values. Misalignment and ethical conflict? Perhaps no. Aspect of career dissatisfaction runs deeper than ethical conflict. Jim Rohn often spoke about the importance of character and integrity, asserting that real success without honor is an utter failure. When your job requires actions that conflict with your personal or moral values, whether it's cutting corners, ethically harming the environment, exploiting clients, or perpetuating inequity, creates persistent dissonance. This inner conflict undermines your sense of purpose and can lead to regret, guilt, and loss of self-respect. Ethical dilemmas are not always black and white. They may involve tacit pressure to comply with questionable norms or silence on critical issues. Jim Rohn would encourage you to define your personal code of conduct clearly and to align your professional life with that code. If repeated efforts to address concerns internally are dismissed, or if senior leadership perpetuates practices you cannot condone, it becomes a matter of conscience to exit the organization. Quitting under these circumstances is a powerful affirmation of your values, a declaration that integrity remains non-negotiable. Sign 8A. Bigger vision beckoning. At the core of Jim Rohn's message is the transformative power of vision. He urged each person to craft a clear and compelling picture of their future, using it as a magnet to pull them toward their goals. Occasionally, the realization dawns that your current job, no matter how stable or comfortable, simply cannot support the magnitude of your vision. Perhaps you dream of launching a business, writing a book, traveling the world, or dedicating yourself to a creative passion. When that vision grows so vivid and urgent that every day at your desk feels like a missed opportunity, it is the clearest sign that your true calling lies beyond your current role. Acknowledging such a calling can be daunting after all. It often involves stepping into uncertainty. Yet Jim Rohn famously said, "Either you run the day or the day runs you." Let your vision run the day. Recognize that no paycheck justifies the sinking feeling in your stomach when your grandest ambitions are relegated to weekend fantasies. When the magnetic pull of a bigger purpose becomes stronger than the inertia of your routine, quitting is not an escape, but a strategic pivot toward the life you are meant to lead, preparing for the transition. Jim Rohn never endorsed reckless leaps without a safety net. His lessons always balanced boldness with prudence. Once you identify one or more of these signs, the next step is to plan your exit thoughtfully. Start by building your financial runway, saving at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses to cushion the interim between jobs. Simultaneously, invest in skill development and networking targeted at your desired field. Update your resume, cultivate relationships with mentors and peers, and explore side projects or freelancing that can test the waters and generate income. Rohn would insist on setting specific goals and deadlines for each milestone. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Equally important is conducting a personal SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, to evaluate how best to leverage your profile in the new environment. Seek out communities both online and offline that align with your emerging path. As Rohn emphasized, the influence of your peer group. And remember to maintain open communication with family or stakeholders who may be affected by your decision. A well-orchestrated transition not only preserves relationships, but also primes you psychologically for success in your next chapter. Conclusion: Jim Rohn's timeless wisdom provides a compass for recognizing when it is time to move on from a job that no longer serves your growth, values, or vision. From persistent stagnation and loss of passion to toxic cultures, burnout, and ethical conflict, each sign is a clarion call to reevaluate your path. Yet quitting is not the culmination of this process, it is the pivot point to deliberate action. By preparing your finances, honing your skills, and aligning your network, you honor both your aspiration and your responsibility to yourself. Remember Rohn's overarching mantra: success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. When your current job stops providing those disciplines or, worse, contradicts them, it's not just time to quit, it's time to rise.